A very good afternoon to you. Thank you for coming on. So what conversations are you having with young people in your space around where we are as young people and where we should be?
Okay, well, firstly, I'd like to say that young people definitely are having all of the necessary conversations. And when it comes to issues of activism, whether it be, service protests, service delivery protests, or other issues affecting them more intimately, I think young people, especially on the digital space, are constantly speaking about these things. Me personally, I'm really interested in issues of feminism. I'm really interested in issues of child literacy in the education space and how preparing our younger generation to be equipped to understand information through literacy is going to definitely prepare them for the future. So those are the kinds of things that I've been doing, but there are my colleagues, Kaya Stole and my colleague Chikane, who also do incredible work in terms of the education space and economics and so on.
And how do you meld all of that together with young people who at the same time go out into communities where they are influenced by so many other factors? They go home, there are factors there, they go into school, they might be hearing different things. So how do you begin to make sense of it holistically?
Could you rephrase the question?
Perhaps what I'm trying to ask is, how do we, as with the conversations that you're having, trying to work in the literacy space and all of that, how do you get all of that to tie in a way that flows with some of the mainstream conversations that we're trying to change going forward?
So I think in how I'm trying to do it in the literary space is that, the collaboration is one way of really getting things across and getting things to other spaces that you won't necessarily reach in schools, So working mainly with schools and libraries and so on, but also working with people in the community who are able to take these lessons forward. Those are the ways. So I think there are ways for us to all collaborate in society, really, to talk to each other, to speak to each other, to ensure that we're constantly thinking through the difficult parts of our society and constantly trying to exert change.
Do you think dialogue remains the best way for us to effect the change?
I think so. I think the wonderful thing about dialogue is that it also sparks and inspires a thirst for knowledge, a thirst to know more, people speaking to each other, teaching each other, showing each other the way. I think that will remain, the peak way to really try and change society, the conversations we're having. And I'm part of the Telkom Youth Ignites right now, and we've been basically thinking deeply from the elections to now, thinking deeply about youth issues and how each of us are contributing and trying to work through those. And so Telkom, what they did is that they ran a poll, and right now, obviously, young people's top priority is obviously issues of the economy, issues of free education, access to education. What came a little bit lower on our poll was the issue of violence.
How come?
I think even though all of these things really speak to each other, I think right now, you're being hungry is more of a priority. I mean, we survive South Africa every day in its violence, but I think being hungry, needing education, those are the things that obviously come to people's minds first. But really, these are things that we really need to be addressing in a holistic fashion.
And just on that, the point about the hunger, we're looking at the unemployment stats, worrying, GDP shrinking. A lot of people are saying the youth of South Africa, the poor, unemployed youth, is getting so impatient that we are on the verge of an explosion, if you will. Is that the sense that you are also getting from your conversations?
Definitely, definitely. And I mean, I think fees must fall in all of its various iterations. And the fact that, there are campuses that continue to struggle against fees, even though the national spotlight is not on them right now, that is so telling of young people who are absolutely tired of the situation. And of course, it doesn't help that we constantly have these headlines of, various politicians who are eating quite well and who are really enjoying the wealth of the country for themselves. And, when you put those things in contrast to each other, of course, we're sitting on a ticking time bomb.
And you include the older generations, be it people in government, in the business space as well, because we've had criticism of that as well, saying, the private sector isn't really coming to the party as far as trying to alleviate poverty and create jobs in earnest. So do you invite them into your spaces, such as these Telkom dialogues?
Yes, definitely. And I think this is something that, my colleague Kaya Stoller could speak to so much better, because obviously he's in the accounting space. He really is in that space to dialogue with people who are, in the private sector. But definitely they cannot be left behind. It is a collaborative effort through among all of us in society.
So the biggest takeaway for you this Youth Day?
My biggest takeaway is that, young people, we are speaking, we are doing, we are working. We just need the older generation to come off of their high horses and honestly work with us, because all the necessary conversations, we're having them. The thirst for knowledge, the hunger to do more, we've got it. We just need to be resourced and helped.
We're being told to wrap, but I can't not include this because you are quite a vocal person in the feminist space. Is that centered enough in dialogues about South Africa's youth and trying to find solutions?
Definitely it is, because also in the kind of spaces I work in, we're having conversations around issues of violence against women, but violence against queer people, violence against children, and these are the things that we're constantly talking about. And so, yeah, I think because these are things that affect, young people. So yes, that we are having the conversations and we are doing a lot of activism as well. We just need, obviously, the political structures to help us along.
Hopefully they've heard your call. Lebogang Masango, thank you so much for coming in. We'll hopefully hear a lot more about what's come out from your dialogues. For now, thank you.